Hi guys, there are very few no-go areas in politics, and for the Conservatives pretty much everything is on the table when it's about winning. Almost no group is safe from either being scapegoated in order to whip up anger or to be used as a political football. The one profession that is somewhat protected is the armed forces. It's highly unusual for a Tory MP or candidate for leader to throw them under a bus in an appeal to the far right of the party. But it seems Robert Jenrick crossed that line. And he was called out by fellow Tory Tom Tugendhat. Have a listen.
I want to ask you about something that's happened on the campaign trail in terms of the Tory leadership contest. And it's a video that Robert Jenrick, one of the contenders, put out, one of his campaign videos. Just have a look.
Our special forces are killing rather than capturing terrorists because our lawyers tell us that if they're caught, the European court will set them free.
What do you think of that?
Well, first of all, it's factually wrong. It simply isn't true. That would be a breach of the law of armed conflict, and it would be a violation of the values and standards of the British Armed Forces. I've spoken to a few former directors of Special Forces today, friends of mine who have commanded operations, are the ones that are referred to there. It's just not true, and it would be wrong to do so.
Special Forces are not killing rather than capturing terrorists.
That is simply not true. It is not true that Special Forces are doing that. It is also not true that the ECHR prevents us conducting kinetic strikes, as they're called, often military operations against military targets. It just isn't true. And what's particularly upsetting is that video is using a piece of footage of some of the people I served with, one of whom there died shortly after that film was taken in an accident, and is not able to defend himself from the accusation that is effectively being levelled against him.
So that is actually footage
Yes.
of somebody you knew?
Yes, that's footage of a soldier in northern Afghanistan in around 2002.
How do you feel about that then?
Well, I do not think that we should be using footage of our Special Forces soldiers in operations.
Should Robert Jenrick remove that footage?
I would not put that video out. In fact, I'd put it down.
And should he clarify what he meant?
I'm afraid I'm not sure clarification is the problem. It's a complete and fundamental misunderstanding of what it is to be a military commander on operations and what the ECHR has an effect on in time of war. I published 2 papers on this in 2013 and 2015 for Policy Exchange, the first called The Fog of Law, the second Clearing the Fog of Law, on the effect that the ECHR has on the battlefield and why I believe that we need to opt out of certain elements of it, reform others, and if necessary be prepared to make other decisions. But this is simply factually incorrect.
So he needs to withdraw his remarks and apologise?
Well, I think this video is simply wrong.
Right. You sound quietly furious.
How would you feel if a friend of yours who died a few years after the film was taken was being included in an accusation that would be, were he to be responsible for it, which, let me be just absolutely clear, he would not and did not do, in an accusation that would be against the values and standards of the armed forces?
Thank you very much for talking to Newsnight. Thank you.
Ouch. Now, is this the end of Robert Jenrick's attempt to become leader of the Conservative Party? I don't know, but it's certainly a massive blow. You don't insult the armed forces, and I mentioned this in another video. But what's funny, in a sense, is that you don't touch the armed forces, but, for example, asylum seekers, you can throw them under a bus, you can call them all the names under the sun. The poorest in society, you can insult them in every ways between now and Sunday. You can attack any other group in society, but the armed forces, you're not allowed to touch them. Now, what Robert Jenrick has done was, of course, untrue. He was suggesting that they're being forced by the European Convention on Human Rights to kill terrorists as opposed to capture them. Completely false. It undermines trust in the armed forces. It insults the armed forces. But once again, why is the armed forces a protected group for the Conservatives, but everyone else is fair game? You know, there are the poorest in society constantly being insulted by the Conservatives, being run down, being called lazy, feckless, work-shy layabouts. People who are working and on benefits being criticised because they're not able to manage their budgets or whatever. So those people are fair game, but don't ever touch the armed forces. These people are hypocrites. They pretend to care about society, but they'll pick and choose which parts of society they're willing to defend. Now, it's possible also that Tom Tugendhat sees an opportunity here. Maybe I'm being overly cynical. He thinks, look, here's a chance for me to get one over on Robert Jenrick. But I think he's actually upset. I think he's truly upset that Robert Jenrick has gone down this road. But Jenrick has no scruples. He has no concern for others. It's all about winning. And if he sees here's an opportunity to sell the public a problem with the European Convention on Human Rights, I'll use it. An opportunity. Doesn't care who's thrown under a bus. Doesn't care if it's the armed forces. Doesn't care if it's anyone. Asylum seekers. We've already seen his approach to that. It's just about winning. Now, I don't know if this will sink his chances. It's definitely going to damage them. But it's up to the Conservative Party members. Are they upset by Robert Jenrick's rhetoric? Or will they welcome it? Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.